Man, we live on a big planet, but sometimes we forget how much water there is on this planet. The Justice League Unlimited Animated Universe, or DCAU, is one of the shows that made a lot of people nerds, me included, and one of the characters I want to talk about today in this universe is Aquaman. This universe is the real first universe that really introduced me to Aquaman being kind of like edgy a little bit. Kind of reminds me of Namor from Marvel Comics on how he can kind of be a butthole, or one could say a villain at times. This universe version of Aquaman kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Like, you can tell he's kind of like a butthole-ish here on how he talks to humans. Coming up to the humans saying, how many times have I had to tell you that the ocean is not your garbage can? And you might not want to eat seafood around Aquaman. He kind of won't like you if you do that. How he doesn't like how humans eat fish and such. Talking about children should not speak until they are proven worthy of an adult voice. Like, dang, bro, you a butthole, Aquaman. Man, Wonder Woman even said he was a butthole, basically saying he was condescending to her. Even in his guidebook, they talk about how he can't stand surface dwellers. It's funny that this universe, Aquaman, has actually met King Arthur of the folklore and stuff. Ain't that interesting? This universe version of Aquaman did go through some evolution, one could say, in this universe. Because right here is how he looked when he was in the Superman the Animated Series, but later on in Justice League, we see him look different with a beard, longer hair. And you might notice something different about his arm having a hook. You know, he went through some changes, off-screen and on-screen. This hook hand has his perks. It can shoot out like or an attachment to pull him out of some debris or something. Like one could say a grappling hook. You got another situation where he uses his hand as a grappling hook here to rope on the beings when they're flying away. In this universe, the famous sword Excalibur exists, the sword of King Arthur. You know about the King Arthur folklore and stuff. It's one of those swords not anybody can just grab and lift it. It's a sword grounded by powerful enchantment. None may free it unless you're a great sorcerer or a true king like Aquaman can in this universe. He can lift the sword and use it to block magical bolts. These magical beings that have shields, he used this sword to counter them. But it's one of them situations he didn't keep the sword long. He let somebody else use it. Sometime in his career, he actually gets this trident known as the Trident of Poseidon. It gives its bearer command of the sea and all within it. So he doesn't have to just worry about this hook, but a super powerful magical weapon. This trident is so powerful to where it can kind of help in aid of channeling power, like how Dr. Fate, a magical being, they can channel energy through it. He can channel energy through it as a sorcerer to show how good this tool is. This doesn't just happen in the comics. This happens in the animation as well. Dr. Fate channeling energy into the trident, them working together with it, you know. Like he can use his trident in combat along with his hook to shoot blasts. You ever wondered how strong he is? One can make an argument that his blast power with this trident is even better than his physicals. This super trident that has magical properties to it can blast through huge creatures. Let's get it. This Justice League animated universe is larger than you probably would expect. It even has comics, even possible futures like Batman Beyond. But when it comes to Aquaman's lore, since he barely appears in the shows, it's interesting that the comics get to dig deep into him a little more. Like in this comic, it pretty much tells about the lore of the DCAU Aquaman a little more. It also shows about how his evolution changed, about how he had his hand, he don't have it no more. See how his hair got longer. You see it shows the adventures. His father is a rather mysterious wizard named Atlan. His mother was Atlana, Queen of Atlantis. When he was born, his fair hair was thought to be a mark of an ancient curse, so I was left to suffocate on an exposed reef because other Atlanteans suffocate when they get in the air. But unlike other Atlanteans, he's different. He can breathe air as well as water, so he survived. They didn't expect that. Then that's when a dolphin named found me, raised him, mothered him. It's not until he reached adulthood did he discover his true Atlantean heritage, that he had another sibling. Ocean Master is also Atlan's son by another woman. His primacy beneath the waves is rightfully his. Clashing for the throne, you guys know the idea, like battling for the throne of Atlantis. They seem to always clash, yada, yada, yada. Aquaman and his adventures. But anyway, he's got a variety of different abilities thanks to his physiology. For one, we know he can go underwater, breathe underwater, and he can breathe air. Like, he has superhuman attributes. Like this occasion right here, you can see him trading blows and punching with Wonder Woman. I'm definitely coming back to this later on. This just gives you a benchmark that, yeah, even on dry land, he's still insanely strong considering how strong DCAU Wonder Woman is. Maybe this can explain why he's able to get this damage from heat and stuff, or fire. Like, he seemed pretty bad from just an RPG hit or something. Maybe it's because his power fluctuates. You know, that's the only thing I can think of because that's an extremely low showing. We've seen him get kicked by her, so his body's resilient as well. There's implications that his skin is extremely durable because they needed a special alloy that should be able to breach his skin, implying that his skin would not be easily breached by a normal needle or something.
Have we got a line in yet?
Negative. His skin's tougher than a rhino's.
His physiology is not like ours.
I mean, here's an example of his durability, how somebody can be in a full-blown sprint, like Poison Ivy, for example, and they just hit him like a brick wall. More durable than average humans, obviously. Like, he can withstand giant fists that are bigger than his whole body created in the ground, so his body's definitely got superhuman qualities to it. Like, yeah, standard people, if you're weak, you can't hurt him. It's even stated here in his lore that he has exceedingly strong skin. Like, are you really surprised he can talk to other sea creatures? It's funny that other dolphins consider him too ugly to be born a dolphin. That's funny. How different species view attractiveness. I mean, we've seen him have full-blown conversation with sharks, dolphins. It's your standard comic book stuff. The seven seas is his kingdom. King of the Seas narrated. For example, here, there was like a disaster going on, and he told the creatures to handle the submarine while he chases the bad guys. Like, there's no reason for him to be by himself in the ocean. Like, he can telepathically talk to him, literally. Like, when they say he's the king of the seas, he literally is the king of the seas. Like, he literally has an army at his disposal all the time, a whole bunch of creatures he can have attack you at the same time. We see him riding creatures here, for example. You can see it here coming from his head, telepathic waves that tells the creatures what to do without him having to really say anything. There's clear indications that on dry land, he's still ridiculously strong, but there's also implications that he's way stronger underwater, which would make sense. He's Aquaman. There's no exact science to this, but like, if I had to make a raw grid on their raw muscle strength, DCAU Wonder Woman, I would give her the edge on dry land, but the moment the battlefield changes into underwater, I would say that the tide would turn based on this certain fight. It showed his fighting speed and fighting skill, strength, and everything was able to hang on with Wonder Woman on land. Like, he's hanging in there, though. That's when he had to use his brain and noticed, wait, there was water behind us. You notice when the fight gets taken underwater, he has the maneuverability advantage, speed advantage, everything. She has to breathe. And notice she couldn't just break out of his grip easily, legitly getting a win on Wonder Woman herself. There's implications that there's a drastic power increase when you change the battlefield to underwater. When it comes to Aquaman, big stone junks like this he lifted, didn't seem like to be a strain. Proven so far he can at least lift 10 tons at least. Big stone junks like he can easily lift and even use it as a weapon with his super strength. Underwater things are lighter, but yeah, he's crazy strong underwater. He can sling this junk around and toss it. So if anybody had their doubts, yes, he can lift up things that weigh several tons. Somehow Lex Luthor had him contained with handcuffs. Okay. The only way this would make sense if this was nth metal or something, but yeah, this really doesn't make that much sense. The only thing that would make sense is that him not being able to break out of those handcuffs, it would only make sense if off screen he got way stronger as time went by. You know, that's the only thing that I can see making sense. Him getting stronger, which is why he can hang with Wonder Woman in fist fights and stuff, you know? Like, you see these big statues that are pulling Superman, just letting you know how big these beings' hands are. There's implications that Aquaman could lift it up despite the size of it. There's implications he can lift several more tons than just 10 tons. Like, we didn't see this happen. This kind of happened off screen. There was the submarine you see underwater here. Like, all we saw is him flying towards it and these missiles came out. We didn't see him actually lift it up, but when they cut back to it, and when everybody was asking about the submarine, all you see is a picture like this with the submarine up, implying he could lift it up above the surface. Him having the strength to lift submarines is definitely believable, especially underwater, and we've seen him overpower Wonder Woman underwater. It kind of makes sense. This is the type of stuff that Wonder Woman can lift, and he physically overpowered Wonder Woman underwater. It would make sense if he could too. You get it? A good way to look at Aquaman's maximum strength when it comes to his physicals, we could theorize whatever these other creatures in the sea can do when it comes to lifting heavy stuff, or how strong they are. One can argue that this version of Aquaman can do better, meaning despite the creatures' sizes, some of these beings that are bigger than him size-wise, he still technically should be able to lift more weight, just overall stronger and muscle-wise. This is one way you can look at it. Like, for a fact, we know some creatures can weigh up to 220 tons, like some whales, which would mean by default, a fair assumption would be to assume that, what if we assume he's stronger than all the creatures? That would mean by bare minimum, he would be able to lift at least over 200 tons. That's one way to look at it. You know, this bridge was about to collapse, and one of his creatures that he's telling what to do is actually strong enough to hold this bridge together that has to weigh over hundreds of tons, guys. Therefore, he should be able to do something similar if he wanted to with his physicals. When it comes to weightlifting, you can see what he's doing in the background with this creature. And you can also see the size of the bridge that he's holding together back here with his super strength. Aquaman is a valuable asset. So, of course, if he can lift 10 tons, he can rip metal like this, of course, right? Like, all that super strength and speed and reflexes and skills, he can use that stuff in combat because we know he can punch hard. Like on this occasion, working with Wonder Woman in the league, punching beings this hard. Like, we see these creatures right here. He kicks, slices with his hook hand. His super strength underwater mixed with his claw. He can cut through tables like it ain't nothing. Like, you see his striking strength right here, what he does to the car. Even if these Atlanteans on their little cute boats, Aquaman would just punch them off the boat. Y'all ain't ready for his striking power. Underwater, when you got these submarines, he can truck your submarine with his striking power. This thick statue right here, for example, he helped push it over on Grundy. Like, you see these big statue entities right here. We see Aquaman stagger with his punches. Things that are bigger than bridges, taller than bridges, he still can hit them and damage them. So you best believe he can hit hard enough to where even if things are bigger or taller than houses, he can send them flying with his strikes. That's believable, right? Like, it's just plenty of evidence of it. When they're fighting this type of stuff, we see him strikes in general. His trident's blast power can easily level buildings. Look at the manipulation of energy he can do to this big old thing when they was plugging a dimensional wall. You see him melting this big structure to melt the hole between dimensions, so there won't be no leak between dimensions. So even if boulders are this big in comparison to himself, he would definitely be able to blast them apart. We've seen him punch beings that have similar physiology to him, like Ocean Master, battling him, punching him, water or without water. They should be similar in raw strength or punching power in general, you know. When he was sucked into a vortex here and multiple sea beings underwater, he's stronger than your average underwater being because they're blasting him, double teaming him. We still see him punch him one off here and stay conscious after being blasted through walls. I already mentioned how he can slugfest with Wonder Woman. We see him in comic book lore punching her and harming her here while jumping out of the water with momentum. Don't forget this universe version of Wonder Woman, her body can withstand a whole planet hit her. I would have thought this was an exaggeration too when we seen characters in the same universe, DCAU, like Green Lantern, John Stewart, and Superman moved the entire planetoid moon. So when Wonder Woman says stuff like that, it kind of makes sense. When it comes to this planetoid type stuff, this is not something we haven't seen before. Even if you want to say he's not quite as strong as Wonder Woman, maybe one could say underwater, his hits or strikes would feel like a certain size planetoid landing on your face. Underwater, super hydrated, maybe his hits could feel like this. His punches would feel like a moon smashing on your face underwater based on his occasions with Wonder Woman. Him doing this sounds wild, doesn't it? When it comes to him striking to be able to tremble an entire planetoid like the moon. We've seen him when he's ridiculously hydrated pull up to Green Lantern John Stewart in the DCAU, punch him and stagger him. He was able to one-shot knock him out with a punch. He is a human, so I mean, it makes sense if he didn't have no Green Lantern shields up. Even when his back's turned, when he's not really facing the direction, he can still react to stuff mid-flight with his fighting speed. Like in this occasion where it looks like they were shooting plasma blasters at him, he was able to react to it and deflect it with his, reflexes. There's a good chance his fighting speed could be close to light speed, considering how fast this universe version of Wonder Woman's fighting speed is. The writer intent implied that the speed gap between their combat wasn't vast, even when he was on dry land and not at his full power. Him reacting to Wonder Woman is a big deal because she can deflect bullets like it's nothing. It's pretty consistent. Green Lanterns and Yellow Lantern blast are literally beams of light, and Wonder Woman can deflect this type of stuff with her fighting speed. Yellow Lanterns, Green Lanterns, and everything have similar beams of speed. When it comes to their constructs, they're as fast, explicitly stated to be light speed. And Wonder Woman can deflect this mess. And Wonder Woman's combat speed, even though she can deflect light beams, Aquaman has no problems keeping up with her in Slugfest. So it implies the writers don't want their speed to be too different, right? Then underwater, he might even be faster when it comes to reactions and combat speed. Night-night to Wonder Woman, right? It's hard to imagine this version of Aquaman having near light speed reflexes, but hey. Moment of silence for the being that actually tried to use water against Aquaman like that was supposed to hurt him, but it really just hydrated him and powered him up. Like, what was you thinking, ma'am? Like, I wouldn't necessarily say he's on the level of Superman, though, because he did get one hit. So I don't think it's fair to compare him to him quite yet, Yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed, though. Do you love the DCAU like I do? It's because of shows like this is why I'm a nerd and I'm able to bring you these type of videos anyway. Then that's what got me in the comics. You get it? Respect Aquaman of the DCAU, even though he lacks screen time, though. But before I get going, I gotta say a quick thanks to the donators. It helps out a lot so I can keep making videos like this for you guys. Respect DCAU, Justice League Unlimited Aquaman. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.